Let us start with one sum on dissolution of a partnership firm. Look at the sum on the screen. Tanu, Manu, Danu are the partners in a firm sharing profits and losses in the ratio of 4:3:3. The balance sheet of a firm as on 31/3/2010 is as under. When they decided to dissolve the firm, on asset side you are given goodwill, land and building, furniture, investment debtors as bad debt reserve, cash in hand, capital of Danu, profit and loss account, debit balance. On liability side you are given capital of Danu and Manu, Mrs. Manu's loan, creditors, bills payable, bank overdraft. This is the information given to you on the liability side. The assets realized as under: land and building 9,000, investment 10,000, debtors 8,000. Unrecorded one asset realized 1,000. Tanu took over the furniture at rupees 5,000. Dissolution expenses amounted to 2,000. All the liabilities including unrecorded liability of 1,000 have been paid fully, totally. Total payment means all liabilities are paid at book value. Danu was declared insolvent and only 7,100 could be recovered from his private property. From the above, close the books of the firm as per the decision of Garner versus Murray. Prepare 1. Realization account, 2. Capital accounts of the partner, 3. Cash account. Now notice one important point in this sum, that you are given the information for all assets realized except goodwill. So what value realized for goodwill is not given, because goodwill has not realized at all. And when the goodwill has not realized, we may say that the realized value is 0, so we won't write any entry for realized value of goodwill. But goodwill as given in the balance sheet will be debited to realization account, and goodwill account gets closed in that fashion. Now we are required to prepare this sum as per Garner versus Murray. Garner versus Murray's decision is applicable for distributing the capital deficit of an insolvent partner. Here Danu is declared insolvent. He has a debit balance of 6,000. This balance is without the share of realization loss, share of Danu in realization loss. So debit balance could be more than this. Even the share of this profit and loss account debit balance also will be transferred. Danu's share will be transferred from this loss also to his capital account. So this capital deficit, the capital account of Danu will have a debit balance. He is declared insolvent. So total amount won't be recovered from him. This is a loss to the firm. This loss is identified as capital deficit. This loss cannot be treated at par with bad debt loss, that is amount not recoverable from debtors, because the goods were sold to debtors with an intention to earn the profit. But the debit balance of Danu has not arisen out of the operating activities of the business, so the loss, capital deficit loss, cannot be treated as business loss, and it cannot be distributed in the profit sharing ratio. It has to be distributed as per the Garner versus Murray's decision in the capital ratio that existed on the date of dissolution of the firm. So we are required to find out the capital ratio of the partners, means solvent partners, on the date of dissolution of the firm. Now let us start with the sum. Here I prepare necessary accounts. Realization account, prepare to find out the profit or loss on realization and settlement of liability. Cash account, partners capital account. First step for the purpose of solving the sum is to copy the balance sheet, means consider the details given in the balance sheet for accounting of dissolution. See, this is my balance sheet. All assets to be realized are transferred to the debit side of realization account. Goodwill 5,000 debited to realization account. Land and building 19,000 debited to realization account. Furniture 11,000 debited to realization account. Investment 13,000 debited to realization account. Debtors 10,000 debited to realization account. Bad debt is of 1,000 credited to realization account. Cash in hand recorded in cash account as opening balance. Capital of Dhanu transferred to the debit side of capital account of Dhanu is 6,000. And profit and loss account 15,000 distributed in the ratio of 4:3:3. So 15 4s are 6,000, 4,500, 4,500. So share of Dhanu in a profit and loss account debit balance is 6,000. Share of Dhanu is 4,500. Share of Dhanu is 4,500. This is how the capital accounts are debited because of the loss in business depicted by the debit balance of profit and loss account on the asset side of the balance sheet. So total loss was 15,000 distributed in the ratio of 4:3:3. Journal entry for that is Dhanu's capital account debit 6,000, Manu's capital account debit 4,000, Dhanu's capital account debit 4,000, to profit and loss account debit 15,000. Now, capital of Dhanu recorded to the Dhanu's capital account credit side. Same way Manu, opening balance 8,000 recorded. Mrs. Manu's loan transferred to realization account. Creditor 17,000 credited to realization account. Bills payable and bank overdraft are also transferred to the credit side of realization account. Notice it, 8,000 and 12,000. This is how details given to in the balance sheet are taken care of for accounting of dissolution of a partnership firm. Now, I am required to apply the decision of Garner versus Murray. One of the part of Dhanu has become insolvent. Loss due to his insolvency borne by the firm known as capital deficit. That will be distributed between solvent partners in the ratio of their capital that existed on the date of dissolution. Let us find out that ratio. Total to the credit of Dhanu is 14,000. Amount debited to Dhanu is 6,000. Capital balance of Dhanu on the date of dissolution is 8,000. Same way, let us work out for Dhanu. Credit total 8,000. Debit total 4,500. Deducted therefrom 8,000 minus 4,500, 3,500. Ratio is 18:35. That is, if you reduce it, 16:7. This is the capital ratio in which the capital deficit of Dhanu will be distributed between solvent partners, Dhanu and Manu. So after copy the balance sheet, that is the state as of the date of dissolution, consider the state on the date of dissolution, the capital account, and find out the capital ratio, then proceed with the sum. Now I want to realize assets. Land and building realized out of 9,000. Cash account debit to realization account credit. Investment realized 10,000. Cash account debit to realization account credit. Debtors 8,000. Cash account debit to realization account credit. Unrecorded one asset realized 1,000. Journal entry for that is same. Cash account debit to realization account credit. Now, Dhanu took over the furniture for 5,000. Dhanu is a partner who took the furniture. Dhanu is the receiver, debit the receiver. Dhanu account debit to realization account credit for furniture transfer to Dhanu. Notice that we have realized all assets. We have realized all assets. Which are the assets that has been realized? Land and building, furniture, investment, debtors. For goodwill, you are not told anything, so amount realized for goodwill is 0, no entry. Now let me start payment of expenses and liabilities. Dissolution expenses amounted to 2000. Realization account debit to cash account credit. All liabilities, including unrecorded liability, 1000 paid fully. Which are the liabilities? See, all liabilities including unrecorded liability. Let us pay first of all unrecorded liability. Realization account debit to cash account. Now what are the other liabilities? Creditors. Realization account debit to cash account. Bills payable 8000. Realization account debit to cash account. Bank overdraft 12,000. Realization account debit to cash account. Loan 20,000. Realization account debit to cash account. This is how all liabilities are paid. Now assets are realized, liabilities are paid. What is the next step? Close the realization account. Find the profit or loss on realization of asset and liability and distribute that loss amongst all partners, including insolvent partners, in the ratio of profit sharing, that is 4:3:3. So total of credit side will be 1,18,000, 60 plus 58, 1,18,000. From that you are required to deduct 58,000, 5,000 and 28,000. Realization loss results to 27,000. These loss will be distributed amongst partners in the ratio of 4:3:3. So 27 3s are 8,100 is the share of Manu and Danu, and 27 4s are 108 share of Tanu. So share of Tanu, Manu and Danu 10,800, 8,100, 8,100. This is a loss. Losses are debited to the partner's capital account. Let me do that. Tanu's capital account debit 10,800. Manu's capital account debit 8,100. Dhanu's capital account debit 8,100 to realization account credit 27,000. Now here I am required to apply the decision of Garner versus Gure. As per the Garner versus Gure's decision, solvent partners are required to bring cash equal to the realization loss sustained by them. Journal entry for that is cash account debit to Tanu's capital account credit. Tanu is the solvent partner. His share in realization loss is 10,800. He has to bring cash for that. Cash comes in, debit what comes in, cash account debit. Tanu is the giver, Tanu's capital account credit. The another solvent partner, Manu, his share in realization loss is 8,100. As per Garner versus Gure's decision, he is required to bring this loss of 8,100. He brings cash for this loss. Cash comes in the business. Debit what comes in, cash account debit, 8,100. Manu is the giver. Manu's capital account is credited for 8,100. This is how I write the entry for solvent partner brought cash equal to their share in realization loss. Now, let us find out the capital deficit of Dhanu's capital account. For that, notice total of debit 6,000 plus 4,500 plus 8,100. That amounts to 18,600. Now there is nothing on the credit side of Dhanu's capital account. If at all there be anything, it will be deducted. Here amount of the total of the credit side is nil. So 18,600 is the debit balance. Against that, Dhanu brings only 7,100. So amount due from Dhanu is 18,600. That is the debit balance of Dhanu's capital account. Against that, he brings only 7,100. So 7,100 he brought. So the capital deficit loss amounts to 18,600 minus 7,100. That is 11,500. This will be distributed in the ratio of capital 16:7. So 16 by 23 is the share of Dhanu in the realization in the capital deficit loss, and that of Manu 11,500 into 7 by 23, 3,500. This is the capital deficit borne by Dhanu and Manu. Now let us account for it. Dhanu could bring only 7,100. Entry for that is cash account debit to Dhanu's capital account credit. This capital deficit, entry for that, Dhanu's capital account debit 8,000 to Dhanu's capital account credit 8,000. Share of Manu in capital deficit 3,500. Manu's capital account debit to Dhanu's capital account credit 3,500. This is how capital deficit recorded. Journal entry for that. Dhanu's capital account debit 8,000. Manu's capital account debit 3,500 to Dhanu's capital account debit 11,500. Now the capital deficit is also distributed as per the decision of Garner versus Murray. By that what happens? Insolvent partners capital account tallies. Now let us close the capital accounts. Reading the partners capital. Look at Dhanu's total 18,600 and 18,600. 8 plus 3, 11 plus 7, 18,600. Here also 18,600. Now so far as Dhanu is concerned, total of debit side is 29,800. So Dhanu is required to bring what amount? 29,800 minus 14,000 minus 10,800. He has to bring 5,000 cash. Cash account debit to Dhanu's capital account credit. Now look at Dhanu's capital account. Total of credit side is 16,100. And here also 16,100. So here the total is 16,100. Here also the total is 16,100. Capital account agrees. Nothing is redeemable, nothing is recoverable. But in case of Dhanu, 5,000 is recoverable. For that we have recorded the entry for 5,000 cash to Dhanu's capital account. Manu's capital account automatically agrees and tallies. No amount is redeemed to Manu. Nothing is recoverable. No need to recover anything from Manu. And his capital balance is tallied. Now let me close this cash account. Total of cash account should agree. Total of debit and total of credit, that amount should amount to 60,000. So here if you total debit side, total will be 60,000. Here 60,000 is already there. This is how my cash account agrees and sum on dissolution gets solved. Thanks to all of you.